He didn't take selfies. He didn't have social media. He said billionaires like him didn't need to be seen. They needed to be understood. And she believed him. Until one photo on the internet ripped everything apart and showed her the man she loved never existed. Welcome back to Mr. Charles Stories, where truth cuts deeper than fantasy, and where every story leaves you with more than entertainment. If this story grabs your heart, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share it with someone who believes in love that tells the truth. Now lean in, because this one starts with a woman named Avi Tran and a bouquet no one expected. Story begins. The rain that day wasn't heavy, just stubborn. It tapped against the storefront window like a child wanting attention, the Chicago sky dull and gray. Inside the flower shop, warm golden light poured down over baskets of orchids, lilacs and sunflowers, each carefully arranged by Avi Tran's quiet hands. She stood by the counter, her hair loosely tied, sleeves rolled up, tucking blue delphiniums into a cream ribbon wrap. Her fingers worked from memory, not instruction. She'd arranged thousands of bouquets in her life, but this one felt empty. Until the door chimed. A man stepped in, tall and polished, but without the arrogance that often came with wealth. He wasn't soaked. His coat was damp but tailored, his shoes clean. And he didn't look around like most men, overwhelmed by too many options. He looked straight at her. "I need flowers," he said simply. She looked up. "For what occasion?" He paused, then said, "For someone who deserves to feel chosen." Her hands froze. That wasn't the usual answer. Anniversary, apology, birthday. No. This man wasn't shopping. He was sending a message. "All right," she replied, brushing her hands off on her apron. "Let's build that." She didn't ask his name, and he didn't give it. That first bouquet wasn't extravagant. She refused to let clients overdo arrangements just to show off. The final set included blush ranunculus, white garden roses, and a single sprig of forget-me-nots tucked under the bow. When she handed it to him, he didn't inspect it. He didn't critique. He simply smiled and said, "I'll be back." She expected he wouldn't. But exactly 7 days later, the same time, the same drizzle outside, he walked back in. The second time, he didn't speak right away, just watched her reset the hydrangea buckets, sleeves pushed up again, earbuds in. When she noticed him, she paused her music. "You again," she said, a half smile playing on her lips. "Is that a complaint?" he asked. She shook her head. "Depends on what you're here for this time." He replied, "Same thing." That became their rhythm. He came every week, same time, different bouquet, never extravagant, but always intentional. She never saw a card attached. He never mentioned who the flowers were for. But after the fourth visit, she stopped wondering if they were for someone else. She knew they weren't. Her father noticed first. "You've been smiling more lately," he said one night, while she helped him catalogue old vinyl records. She shrugged. "The shop's been calm." He raised a brow. He didn't push. Her father never did. After her mother passed years ago, he learned to let Evie speak in her own time. Their bond wasn't built on big conversations. It was built on habit. Tea at 8 p.m., music playing low, old albums wrapped in cellophane between them. That night, she didn't mention the man in the dark coat and the soft voice. She didn't want to give something away before she understood what it was. By the fifth visit, even Nalani, her best friend, noticed. "You're either sleeping better," Nalani said, sipping a too-sweet matcha, "or falling into something." Avi dodged. "He just buys flowers." "Every week?" She nodded. "Girl, nobody buys flowers that often unless they're in love, in trouble, or lying." Avi laughed. "Or maybe he just likes flowers." Nalani narrowed her eyes. "Do you?" Avi didn't answer that, but she didn't have to. On the sixth visit, something shifted. It wasn't raining. The sun broke through thin clouds and painted the shop in soft light. The stranger stood in front of the counter, watching her tie ribbons around a bouquet of ivory roses and soft blue thistle. "I think it's time I gave you a name," he said. She glanced up. Sure, I was going to start calling you Tall Coat Man. He smiled. Better than what I've been called. And what's your actual name? Kaylin Dorin. She raised a brow. Sounds like a movie character. Only if it ends well, he replied. She tucked the last stem in place and gave a small laugh. Then, she did something she hadn't done in months. She asked a man out. Well, not directly. If you ever want to try dinner that doesn't come with a flower purchase, she said. Casually, there's a spot on the corner that serves garlic shrimp I actually crave. His smile didn't widen. It deepened. More eyes than mouth. Are you asking me out? He asked. She shrugged. I'm just saying the table next to mine might be free, he said. Then I guess I'll take it. That night, Evie stood in front of her closet longer than she'd admit. She didn't want to look like she tried, but she didn't want to look like she didn't care. In the end, she wore a simple black jumpsuit, gold hoops, and pulled her hair into a loose bun. When Kaylin arrived, he didn't comment on her looks, but he stared for a moment longer than polite. And when they sat down, he didn't pull out his phone once. He didn't dominate the conversation. He asked questions, the kind people usually skipped. What do you miss that no one ever asks about? What's one mistake you don't regret? What's something you're still figuring out? Evie found herself answering honestly. And when the check came, he placed a single bill inside without looking and said, I don't carry credit cards. She blinked. Why? Too many people keep tabs that way. Do you owe people something? She asked playfully. He said nothing, just sipped his water. Evie felt the chill. But she didn't flinch. She knew what secrets looked like, and she also knew not all of them were bad. The next few weeks passed like a soft wind, not loud, but felt deeply. Kaylin never texted too much, never showed up unannounced. He respected space like it was a gift, not a game. But when he did show up, he brought presence with him. He looked her in the eye when she spoke. He laughed only when he meant it. And he always listened. One evening, he waited outside the shop in his usual dark coat, hands in his pockets. The silent car idled at the curb, headlights soft. Do you need a ride home? He asked. Evie glanced at her bike, chained to the rail. She hesitated, then nodded. It was the first time she sat in that black car. The driver didn't speak, just nodded once and pulled away from the curb. Kaylin didn't speak either, not at first. He looked out the window, thoughtful, as if the night had offered him something he didn't know how to accept. You live far? He asked softly. Not really, she said. 10 blocks, but it's uphill. He smiled faintly, then said, You deserve to be driven. She raised a brow. I can handle hills. I know, he said. That's why you deserve it. That answer stayed with her. By the 5th ride, she stopped pretending she didn't like his presence. Kaylin never stepped inside her apartment. He never asked. When they pulled up, he opened the door for her, looked up at her window, and said goodnight. Once, as she turned to leave, he caught her hand, just briefly. I don't want to cross anything sacred, he said. She whispered, You haven't. He let go. They began seeing each other twice a week, then 3, never weekends. He always said he was traveling on weekends. She didn't press. Some people wore their freedom like armor. Kaylin wore his like a bruise, visible only to those who looked close enough. She started noticing the patterns. He never ordered alcohol, always paid in cash, didn't like selfies, never introduced her to anyone, never mentioned family, never invited her anywhere that required names on a list. But he was kind, present, thoughtful. Once, he brought her a necklace, small, delicate, a single pearl. Reminds me of you, he said. Quiet and centered. She'd never received jewelry before. He didn't ask her to wear it, but she did. Nalani noticed the necklace at brunch. You're smiling again, she said. Evie dipped her toast in syrup. You sound surprised. I'm not surprised, Nalani said. I'm nervous. Evie tilted her head. Why? Because men like that don't just appear. Either he's emotionally unavailable, wildly married, or running from something. Avi sighed. He listens. He shows up. He never makes me feel small. Why can't it be that simple? Nalani softened. I hope it is. Then added quietly, but ask yourself this. Do you know who he is when you're not around? They spent a night together for the first time in a private guest house just outside the city. Kaylin drove. No driver this time. The house was already set. Low lights, piano music from the vintage speakers and candles, flickering on the table beside a tray of fresh strawberries and sparkling water. He never undressed her quickly. He moved like she was something delicate, not breakable, but sacred. And after, he didn't fall asleep. He wrapped both arms around her and pulled her close, his lips brushing her forehead. I don't care what the world expects of me, he whispered. If you'll have me, I want to build something with you. Avi didn't say anything, but her chest tightened, because she believed him. That night, she let her guard fall completely. For the first time in years, she didn't wake up feeling alone. The next morning, he kissed her palm and drove her home before sunrise. I have to leave the city for a few days, he said. I'll be off-grid. She blinked. Off-grid. He nodded. No signal. Some land my family's settling a dispute over. Should I be worried? She asked, half smiling. Not at all, he replied. But, wait for me. 3 days, she asked. 3 days, he confirmed. No more than that. He leaned in, kissed her once, soft and full, then disappeared down the street in that same black car. Avi didn't tell anyone about that night. Not her father. Not Nalani. She wanted to hold it quietly, like a match lit in the dark, small and flickering, but deeply warm. For the first day, she felt weightless. For the second day, she replayed his words in her head. But on the third night, Nalani called. Avi, you need to open Reddit. Right now. What? There's a thread on Our Wedding Fails. Go. Her stomach dropped. She opened the app. The post was simple. Bride confronts groom mid-vow, claims she's the real fiancé. Attached was a blurry photo, but she didn't need clarity. She knew the jawline, the mouth, the eyes. The man standing at the altar was Kaylin. Only this time, the name below the registry read, Sean Lorne. Avi couldn't speak. She stared at the screen as if blinking would fix it. It's not him, she said to herself, but her hands were already shaking. She closed the app, reopened it, zoomed in, same posture, same eyes, same hair that curled behind the collar. Nalani's voice came through the phone, hesitant. Avi, is that your guy? Avi couldn't answer, because in that moment, everything cracked. The hours blurred after that. She checked Google. No mention of Kaylin Doran anywhere. She opened LinkedIn, searched variations, nothing. She called her cousin who worked in city records. Can you check if anyone named Doran owns property in the area? After a long pause, her cousin returned with one word. No. She tried his number. Straight to voicemail. She messaged him. No reply. She waited. She stared at the necklace he gave her. Stared like it might speak. By the end of the third day, the silence had weight. He was gone. And she had no idea who she'd loved. The sixth visit started like all the others. Quiet, ordinary, and right on time. But Avi remembered feeling something different that morning. Something in her chest pulsed slow but heavy, like her body knew what her heart hadn't caught up to yet. He entered with the same stillness as always. Calm coat, subtle smile. His cologne was faint, clean, like linen and midnight air. No umbrella again, though the sidewalk outside was wet from a soft drizzle. He stood in front of her workbench, watching her arrange tulips into a glass vase. She didn't look up right away. You're consistent, she said, pulling the leaves from a stem. I'm curious, he answered. She glanced at him, brow raised. About you, she laughed softly, not mockingly, more surprised. You've never asked me a personal question. Doesn't mean I haven't been thinking them. She met his eyes then. and for a moment, she stopped arranging. "Okay," she said. "Then I'll ask first." He tilted his head slightly. "What's your name?" There was a pause. Not long, but just long enough to be noticed. Then he said, "Kaylin Doran." She blinked. "That sounds like a character from a film." "Maybe," he replied. "Only if it ends well." He gave her a small smile, the kind that hides more than it reveals, and gestured toward the bouquet she was building. "What's the message with those?" he asked. "Gentle apology," she said, "but not for something big. More like, I should have spoken up, but I didn't." He nodded slowly. "Then those are perfect." After he left, Avi sat down for the first time in hours. The shop was quiet. Her father had gone to pick up a new record shipment from a collector 2 blocks away. It was just her and the stems on the floor, and the soft hum of her playlist. "Kaylin," she repeated out loud. It sounded made up, not in a bad way, in a charming, worn-in way, like a man trying to tell you something without actually saying it. But then again, wasn't that how he always was? Later that evening, Nalani called. "So, are we calling him Mystery Man, or does he finally have a name?" Avi hesitated. "Kaylin Doran." Nalani laughed. "No, he didn't. I'm serious." "Oh, he's serious too. That's a romance novel name." Avi smirked. "He's not dramatic like that." Nalani's voice softened. "But don't you think it's a little too perfect?" Avi didn't answer. She didn't want to start doubting the one thing that finally felt peaceful in her life. Their first official date didn't happen in a 5-star restaurant or on a private rooftop. It was at a cozy Thai spot a few blocks from her shop. He didn't pick her up. He said he respected her independence. She walked there, coat wrapped tight, the necklace he gave her sitting like a secret against her collarbone. He was already seated when she arrived, back to the wall, watching the door. She noticed it immediately. "You always face the entrance," she said as she slid into the booth. "It's habit," he replied. "From what?" "Old training." She narrowed her eyes. "You were in the military?" He smiled. "Close enough." Over green curry and jasmine tea, she learned almost nothing, but she felt everything. He spoke about music in abstract ways. "I don't trust anyone who skips intros." He shared his thoughts on flowers. Peonies die dramatically. That's their charm. And when she asked about his family, "They're complicated," he said. "Old money, long shadows, easier to stay quiet." She didn't push. Her own family wasn't simple either. So instead, she told him about the flower shop, how her mother had started it before passing from a sudden illness, how her father refused to close it after. Being around beauty helped him grieve, she said. Kaylin nodded. "I get that." When the bill came, he slipped 2 crisp bills into the check folder before she could reach. "I told you," he said quietly. "You deserve to be taken care of." Avi blushed. "I'm not used to that." "I know," he said. "That's why I mean it." The next morning, he showed up with no bouquet request. He just stood there, watching her refill the rose fridge. "Do you have any plans tonight?" he asked. She paused. "I was going to alphabetize some dusty record sleeves." He smiled. "Want to do that tomorrow instead?" She tilted her head. "What's tonight?" "There's a little cabin just outside the city. No pressure, just dinner. Quiet place." "Why a cabin?" "I want to see you without the noise." The answer stunned her. She nodded. That night, he picked her up himself. No driver. The car was still sleek, still silent inside. But the tension wasn't there. He looked over at her once during the drive, not for long, just long enough to make her stomach flutter. "You're comfortable in silence," he said. "Only when it's with the right person." He looked back to the road, but his fingers flexed on the wheel, like he wanted to hold hers but wasn't sure he'd earned that right yet. The guest house was tucked into a wooded lot. Not big, but beautiful. Logs stacked neatly by the fireplace, candlelight flickering on low tables. A tray of roasted vegetables and wine glasses waiting without ceremony. He didn't say much. He watched her. He let her explore the space. Let her sit wherever she wanted, Let her choose the music. When she picked an old soul playlist, he smiled. I was hoping you'd go with something real. She stood near the window, arms crossed loosely. You always have everything ready. I like preparing for good things, he said. She turned to him. Is this real, Kaylin? He didn't smile. He walked to her. Quiet, measured. He said, You don't need to believe everything yet, but you can believe me now. Then he kissed her. Soft, slow, safe. They didn't rush anything. They spent hours just touching, talking, laying side by side on the throw rug in front of the fireplace. And after, she rested her head on his chest and asked, Why don't you show up in photos? Anywhere? His hand paused for a beat on her back. Some things are better lived than archived. She let that answer sit. Maybe he was right. The next morning before sunrise, he dropped her off quietly. She stood by her apartment steps, watching him in the car window. He lowered it. I'll be gone for a few days, he said. Family land issues. No signal where I'm going. Avi nodded slowly. 3 days, he added. Wait for me. She smiled, small but certain. I will. She watched him drive off and whispered to herself, I already have. The sun rose slow and golden over the flower shop that morning. Avi stood behind the counter, unwrapping new delivery boxes while the warmth from her tea mug kissed her hands. But her mind wasn't in the shop. It was with him. 3 days. That was all he said. 3 days. No signal. Wait for me. She looked down at her phone again. Still no message. Still no call. But somehow, she trusted him. Kaylin wasn't loud. He didn't try to impress her with flash or promises. Everything he did was measured, real. That had to count for something, right? On the second day, she cleaned the shop in silence. Her father was off running errands, so the place felt quieter than usual. Even the customers seemed to sense her mood. Kind smiles, short conversations, quick exits. That afternoon, a woman came in, asking for a bouquet for her son's wedding. Something bold, she said. He's marrying someone loud. Avi smiled faintly. Peonies and snapdragons, they'll hold their own. As she wrapped the bouquet, the woman chatted about wedding drama, laws, forgotten RSVPs, someone fainting during the rehearsal dinner. Avi only half listened, until the woman said, At least he's not like that poor man who got called out in the middle of his wedding vows. That Reddit thread's going viral. Avi froze. She looked up slowly. What happened? The woman waved her hand. Oh, it was wild. Some bride got up in the middle of the ceremony and said the groom was a liar, claimed she was the real fiancé. Internet's loving it. I think it happened in Michigan. The pit in Avi's stomach turned cold. Michigan? She asked, trying to stay casual. The woman nodded. Yep. Had a photo too. I mean blurry, but still. Poor guy looked like he saw a ghost. Avi handed her the bouquet, barely breathing. Hope the flowers last. Oh, they will, the woman said, distracted. Good luck with your weekend, dear. As soon as the door shut, Avi grabbed her phone. She didn't call Nalani. She opened Reddit directly. Her fingers trembled as she searched for groom-exposed Michigan wedding. The top result was a post titled, Red Lipstick and Red Flags. Woman interrupts groom's vows with a twist. She clicked. Halfway down the thread, buried between gifs and shocked emojis, there it was. A photo. Grainy. Zoomed in from the back of the church. But Avi knew that coat. That hair. That stance. The man standing at the altar was Kaylin. Or rather, the man who said he was. And under the wedding registry printed beside the photo, groom Sean Lawn. Her mind couldn't keep up. Her body felt cold and tense. No. There had to be an explanation. Maybe it was a cousin. Maybe it was an impersonator. Maybe... She clicked his name again. Another comment thread. Someone claiming to have gone to high school with Sean. Described him as charming, secretive. Always had stories that didn't add up. Avi's throat closed. She scrolled deeper. Another user posted, This guy matched with my sister once. said he was heir to a silent winery in Canada. She caught him using a different name 2 weeks later. Avi's lungs pulled tight. She opened her call log. Last message from Kaylin. Wait for me. She hit call. Straight to voicemail. She tried again. Still nothing. She typed a message. Please tell me this isn't you. She stared at it. Deleted it. Typed again. I saw the post. I saw your name. I need to hear your voice. Please. Sent. And then, nothing. The third day passed in a blur. She barely spoke. Her father noticed her silence, but didn't push. She lied and said she had a headache. That night, she sat by the window with her phone, the screen dark. In her lap, the necklace he gave her wrapped tight around her fist. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She waited, because denial is warm, even when it burns. By the fourth day, she knew. She opened a new browser tab and typed his name, Kaylin Dorin. No results. She tried again. Kaylin Dorin, Chicago. Nothing. She flipped to LinkedIn. Searched all variations. Kaylin D. Dorin. No profiles. No company ties. No history. She called her cousin in city records. I need a favor, she said quietly. Can you check if a Kaylin Dorin owns property anywhere around the downtown district? Her cousin sighed. Why? Because I think I've been lied to. The pause was long. 20 minutes later, her cousin called back. Nothing, she said. No record of that name owning anything. No estate. No filings. Avi hung up and sat on the floor. She stared at the vase beside her, the one she'd filled with daffodils that morning. Suddenly, they felt fake, decorative, performed. Nalani showed up, uninvited. She knocked once and let herself in. Avi sat on the kitchen floor with her arms around her knees. I saw it, Nalani said gently. Avi didn't respond. Nalani sat beside her. I was hoping it wasn't him, she whispered. But it's him. Avi nodded, slowly. He gave me his name. Nalani placed a hand on her shoulder. He gave you a version of it. Avi didn't sleep that night. She stayed up combing search results, flipping through records, looking at Reddit posts until her eyes ached. She created a spreadsheet of every clue he'd ever given her, every small detail. The private guest house, untraceable. The black car, never a license plate visible. The phone, unlisted. Everything about him disappeared as easily as he arrived. But the worst part, he never asked her for anything. No money, no favors, no access. Which meant she wasn't a victim, she was a cover. 2 weeks passed. Then the call came. Miss Tran. Yes. This is Joseph Aaron from the Illinois Fraud and Identity Task Force. Do you have a moment? Avi's heart stilled. He continued. You're listed as a reference in a pending case. It involves a man we believe you had contact with under the name Kaylin Dorin. Avi's grip tightened on her phone. Yes, she said. I did. The investigator paused. We believe his real name is Evran Maddox. She whispered it to herself. Evran. He's been operating under several aliases. We're building a case. But I need to ask, did he ever request financial help from you? No, she replied. He never asked for anything. That's consistent with his pattern, the man said. He often keeps one relationship clean. It helps mask the others. She blinked, stunned. So I was... The front, he confirmed. The one that makes him look real. She hung up slowly, then walked to the mirror. Her reflection stared back, tired, haunted, older somehow. She touched her necklace and whispered, the billionaire I loved never existed. Comment, it felt real if you've ever trusted someone who wore a perfect mask. Sometimes it's not about falling for lies. It's about being targeted by someone who knew exactly what you needed to hear. If this part moved you, like the video, share it with someone who's been through it, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens when Avi finally learns the full truth. It's strange what memories survive betrayal. The ones that should have felt fake don't. Even after learning his name wasn't real, his past was a lie and his entire identity. was stitched from stories he never lived. Avi couldn't forget the way he listened. Kalen, Evran, whatever his name truly was, didn't interrupt when she spoke. He didn't deflect. He made her feel like her words had weight, and that made the illusion harder to erase. Because when someone gives you space to be heard, you start to believe they see you. Avi sat in the shop that morning before opening hours, staring at the small notepad he once used to scribble a quick thank you. The paper was cream-colored, heavy, personalized with embossed initials, KD. She turned it over, half expecting it to vanish. Her father walked in, whistling something faint and old. "You okay?" he asked, setting a box down behind the counter. She gave him a tired smile. "Getting there." He nodded. Didn't push. He never mentioned Kalen, never asked why her smiles had stopped. But his eyes lingered longer now. His hugs felt fuller, firmer, like he was trying to hold together whatever was breaking. Flashback. 5 weeks earlier. Avi stood by the lakefront near Museum Campus, her coat open in the wind. Kalen had brought 2 coffees in paper cups, one with oat milk, one black. No words, just the exchange of small things that felt like everything. He handed her the oat milk without asking. "I watched you stir it 3 times last time," he said. "Didn't want to break your rhythm." She smiled, genuinely. "You pay attention." "I listen," he replied. "It's not the same." She sipped. "What's the difference?" He stared at the water before answering. "Listening means I make room for you. Paying attention means I collect data." She blinked. That moment, that sentence, stayed with her like a pressed flower. Even now, even after the truth. She remembered one night he asked, "What's your worst memory?" She didn't want to answer, but he waited. "So," she told him, "when my mom passed, people stopped looking me in the eye, like grief made me invisible." He didn't reach for her hand. He didn't say, "I'm sorry." He said, "That's a cruelty people don't talk about enough." That response made her cry, and she hated that it still felt like the most honest moment she'd had with a man. Later that week, after her shift, she pulled out the box where she kept old letters and photos. A wooden crate tucked under her bed, dusty and untouched for months. She added the napkin he once left in her coat pocket. Just a simple sentence, "Don't let the world make you quieter than your spirit was designed to be." Was that line stolen from somewhere? Maybe. Did it matter? Some lies carry the shape of comfort, and that shape is hard to throw away. The next morning, Nalani arrived with 2 lattes and a folder. "What's that?" Avi asked. "Proof," Nalani said. "So your brain can stop making excuses." Avi sighed. "I'm not making excuses. You're replaying highlights from a movie that didn't exist." She slid the folder across the counter. Inside, screenshots, reports, old online profiles under names like Sean Lawn, Caleb Marrick, Evran Maddox, threads from other women, a photo from a short film festival 7 years ago, a younger version of him smiling beside a director's board. Avi closed the folder halfway through. "I believe you," she whispered. "I just can't delete him all at once." Nalani sat beside her. "You're allowed to miss what he pretended to be, but don't forget he practiced every moment. You were real. He was reading a script." That sentence broke something open, because it was true. Later, Avi stepped outside for air. Downtown Chicago buzzed in its usual rhythm, cars weaving past each other, pigeons hopping between, puddles, and couples huddled in coffee shop windows, laughing at things Evie couldn't hear anymore. She reached into her pocket. That same necklace, the pearl glinted in the grey light. She wondered how many women had been given the same one. How many believed it meant something? Back inside the shop, she walked to the back room, took out her ledger, the handwritten record of every flower order Kaylin had made. 7 total. No names, no cards, just vague instructions like, "She deserves to feel like spring even in the cold, a bouquet that whispers instead of shouts, one that forgives." Before being asked, they sounded poetic. Now they sounded rehearsed. That night, she lay in bed thinking about his voice, the calm pacing, the warm tone, the way he said her name like it wasn't just pretty, it was important. But under all of it, she heard what she hadn't before: control. His silence wasn't mystery, it was design. He didn't just listen, he studied, mirrored, calculated. He gave her exactly what she needed, until it served him not to. The next day, her father surprised her with something small but profound. He handed her a package wrapped in old newspaper. Inside was a tape recorder, vintage, rusted, and a cassette labeled Mom's Voice, July 1997. "I found it cleaning out the garage," he said. "I figured you might want to hear someone who loved you without strategy." Avi pressed play. A voice crackled through the tape, soft, high, familiar. "Baby girl, if you're hearing this someday, remember this. You don't need anyone to tell you who you are. You've always known. Even when the world forgets, you don't." Avi covered her mouth, because that moment was real. No mystery, no disguise, just love. The sun poured through the front windows of the flower shop, but Avi barely felt it. She stood quietly at her workstation, trimming stems that didn't need trimming, rearranging bouquets already perfect. Her mind wasn't in the shop. It was stuck in the places where his voice used to echo. Kaylin had known exactly how to make silence feel romantic. Now that silence felt staged. And the more she peeled back each memory, the more she realized he hadn't just been pretending to love her. He'd been pretending to listen. A customer interrupted her thoughts. A young man with nervous hands stood near the peony display. "First date," he said. "I don't want to overdo it." She handed him a simple bundle of soft pinks and white lisianthus. "Keep it light. Let her feel chosen, not bought." He blinked. "That's exactly what I wanted to say." Avi smiled. That's what she used to love about her job, making people's feelings visible without them having to explain. But today, even that skill felt like it came from a wound. After the man left, she returned to her station and opened the shop's old appointment log. There, scribbled under March 12th, "Kaylin, she deserves spring." No receipt, no name left behind, no evidence. Just words, carefully chosen ones, like a screenwriter writing for an audience of one. That evening, Nalani stopped by with takeout. She didn't even ask if Avi had eaten. They sat on the couch in silence, soy sauce containers between them, a movie playing low in the background. "You remember the way he'd tilt his head when you spoke?" Avi said. Nalani looked over. "Yeah." It made me feel like he was listening with his whole body, like nothing else in the world mattered. Nalani nodded slowly. "That's not listening. That's performance." Avi didn't respond. "True listeners don't make you feel watched. They make you feel understood," Nalani added. Avi stared at the floor. "But he did understand me." Nalani gently set down her drink. "Or he understood what you needed him to mirror." There's a difference. That night, Avi opened the drawer where she kept her old journals. Most entries were short, a few lines, mostly work notes and reminders, but every now and then there was a sentence about Kaylin. "He asked me what made me stop trusting people and waited 10 whole seconds before responding. He bought jasmine tea after hearing me mention my mom used to drink it. He said I breathe differently when I lie. No one's ever said that before." She wanted those memories to mean something, but now they read like scripts, written by someone who had done this before, many times, with many women. The next day, a letter arrived, handwritten, no return address. Inside, "Dear Avi, if you're receiving this, it means I'm not who you hoped I was. But the way you saw me, the version you believed in, that version was real because of you. You deserved better than a man who hides behind characters. But you should know, I never took from you. I only wanted to be someone worth staying for. I failed. E. No signature, just the initial." Her hand trembled. She dropped the letter onto the counter and walked outside for air. Across the street, a man helped an older woman carry 2 grocery bags to her car. No cameras, no audience, just a quiet act of kindness. Avi watched him. Not because he reminded her of Kaylin, but because he didn't. There was no pause for effect, no charming smile, no crafted sentence, just real action. It shook her more than she expected. That afternoon, her father joined her in the kitchen. "I was thinking," he said slowly, "we've been doing too much remembering and not enough living." She blinked. "That's very an archivist of you." He smiled. "Even memory has to know when to rest." She laughed, and for the first time in days it didn't feel forced. "Come on," he said. "Let's go walk by the lake." The wind by the shoreline was soft but constant. They walked without speaking for a while. Her father handed her a warm paper bag. Inside, her favorite snack from childhood, peanut chocolate clusters from a shop 2 neighborhoods over. "They're still open?" she asked. "Only on Thursdays," he replied. "Like people, some places don't need to be loud to last." They sat on a bench as the sky turned gold. "I know you loved him," her father said gently. "I loved the version he let me see," she replied. Her father nodded. "That counts too. But now you need someone who shows up as themselves." Avi leaned her head on his shoulder. "I'm scared I won't trust again." "That's okay," he said. "Trust isn't a door. It's a hallway. You walk it slowly." The next day, she returned to the shop early. She wiped down every shelf, refilled the flower water buckets, and flipped the sign to open before anyone arrived. At 9:12 a.m., a man walked in. Neat coat, hands in pockets, kind face, not Kaylin. He looked around, then walked up to the counter. "I don't need flowers," he said. "Not yet." Avi raised a brow. "You're in a flower shop." He smiled. "I know. I just wanted to say, I've passed by this place 100 times, and something told me to come in today." She waited. He added, "My mom passed recently, and I remembered she used to say flowers don't talk, but they listen. So I thought, maybe, being around them might help." Avi didn't reply right away. Then she stepped out from behind the counter, picked a single white daisy from a bucket, handed it to him. He looked at it, then at her. "Thank you," he whispered. "Sometimes," she said softly, "quiet things heal louder than words." He left. She watched him go, and for the first time since Kaylin disappeared, she felt the ground under her feet again. The first red flag wasn't the way he avoided cameras. It wasn't even how he never let her see his place. It was the way he made his mystery feel like a privilege, and Avi had mistaken that for intimacy. 4 months before everything shattered, they sat side by side at the edge of a rooftop garden. Kaylin said was friends only. It overlooked the city like something stolen from a film. Gold light touching steel buildings, wind tugging gently at her sleeves. He had brought figs, dark chocolate, and cold, sparkling water. No wine, no alcohol ever. "You don't drink?" she'd asked once. "Not in this life," he said with a shrug. She had laughed, thinking it was a joke. Now she remembered that night for what it was, controlled, curated, and impossibly quiet. No sign of life inside the building, no photos, no trace. When she asked whose building it was, he replied, "A friend with too much money and not enough peace." She didn't ask again. She didn't want to ruin the moment. That was the thing. He always gave her enough tenderness to make her forget to ask the right questions. And when he did offer answers, they were smooth enough to slip past her guard. One time, she noticed a scar along his wrist. It looked old, faded, but deep. "What happened there?" she'd asked. He'd stared at it for a second, then replied, "Learning who to trust and who not to." And just like that, the question died. She never asked again. That same week, Nalani had dropped by with fresh soup and warnings. "I'm not saying he's bad," she said, sitting cross-legged on Avi's rug, "but secrets build pressure. Eventually one explodes." Avi stirred her tea. "He's not hiding. He's just not loud." Nalani gave her a long look. "Not being loud and not being known are two different things." Avi exhaled slowly. "Why can't it just be what it is?" Nalani softened. "Because you're already too far in." Still, Avi kept seeing him. They never went to popular restaurants. always little places tucked between alleyways or up second floors with no signs. He never took calls around her. He never slipped. And when she once jokingly reached for his wallet, he gently turned her hand away. "Not this one," he said with a smile. "Some things aren't for show." She remembered the night he touched her face for no reason at all. They were on the balcony of the guest house, fog in the distance, her head resting against his chest. And he said softly, "Your silence doesn't scare me. It's where your honesty lives." She felt seen, deeply, completely. Now, it felt rehearsed, a beautiful line, one he'd probably said to others, or worse, one he'd written. 3 days after that, she invited him to meet her father. He declined, kindly, respectfully. "He deserves to meet the version of me that's finished becoming who I want to be," he said. Not someone still halfway there. She let it go. She wanted to believe that he was trying, that maybe the unfinished version of him just needed space to grow. But now, she saw it clearly. He never planned to grow. He just planned to disappear. There were more flags, quiet ones. His phone always on silent. His driver never speaking. The way he never referred to dates by actual calendar days, always soon, later, a few days. He even avoided using surnames. "Just Kalen," he'd say. "I like being a mystery." She'd laugh and call it charming. But inside, she had felt the question forming. Why didn't he want to be known? One night, she tried to break through. They were sitting on her couch, takeout containers half empty. She leaned into him and asked softly, "Do you ever get tired of running?" He didn't flinch. He just asked, "Why do you think I'm running?" She said, "Because everything around you feels temporary, and yet you hold me like you're staying." He kissed her then, slow, deep, intense. And after, he whispered, "You make me want to stay, but I'm still learning how." Now she knew the truth. He wasn't learning. He was acting. And she'd fallen in love with a performance so smooth, she clapped for it with her heart. Back in the present, Avi stood at the register, watching raindrops gather on the shop's window. She whispered, "I should have asked more." But another voice inside her replied, "No." He should have told more. Later that day, a young couple came in, newly engaged, smiling too hard, holding hands like the world hadn't yet touched them. Avi helped them pick out flowers for a pre-engagement dinner. Something soft, nothing too dramatic. As she wrapped the bouquet, the girl asked, "Can I ask a random question?" "Sure. How do you know when it's real?" Avi paused, then looked up. "When it's real," she said slowly, "it doesn't hide." The girl blinked. The boy squeezed her hand, and they walked out without another word. There was a night she replayed more than any other. Not their first kiss, not their first night together, but the night he looked at her across candlelight and said, "You make me feel human again." She hadn't answered, because she didn't know how to respond to something that heavy. But now she wondered if he said it to feel real or to seem real. It had been a Friday night in mid-April, rain tapping at the roof of the countryside guest house he claimed belonged to a cousin no one liked. She never met this cousin. She never saw any family photos. But that night, she didn't care. There were wine glasses filled with sparkling water, a record player humming quietly in the corner, fresh flowers on the dining table, the same bouquet she'd wrapped at work earlier that week. He remembered. She'd joked, "You stole these." He'd replied, "I remembered what your hands looked like tying the ribbon. I wanted to see that again." That line made her melt. She hated that it still could. They hadn't rushed into bed that night. Instead, they sat across from each other on the couch, shoes off, a blanket across both their laps. "I have a question," she had said. His eyes lifted, guarded. "Ask carefully." She smiled. "How many people have seen the version of you I see?" He looked down, then replied, "You're the first one who looked without flinching." Now, that answer rang different, because the truth, he'd probably used that line before. She wasn't the first. She was just the one who believed him the longest. That night, they'd held each other for hours, not saying much, breathing together. She remembered thinking how safe his arms felt. But now, she wondered how many women he had made feel safe while rehearsing his next exit. In the weeks that followed, she'd gone all in. She cleared space in her schedule for him, delayed family dinners, skipped sleep, changed her weekend routines, and he stayed the same, mysterious, unavailable, yet always appearing at the perfect time. He was like a storm you didn't see coming, quiet until lightning struck. Her father had noticed her shift. "You seem softer," he said one morning as she helped him restock inventory. "Is that bad?" she asked. "No," he replied, "but softness given to the wrong hands can become a bruise." She'd brushed off his comment at the time, but now those words cut deeper than ever. Back in the present, Avi sat in her bedroom, the silence pressing in like a question with no answer. She reached for the small journal on her nightstand, not the one for work notes or reminders, the one she only wrote in when she needed to say things she couldn't speak out loud. She flipped to a blank page and started writing. "I think I loved the way you listened more than I loved you. And maybe that's what hurts the most, that someone like you knew exactly how to fake something that took me years to grow into. You met me at the wrong time, but I met you at the most honest point in my life, and that's not fair." She closed the book, tucked it back in the drawer, and turned off the light. The next day, her father handed her a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Something I meant to give you last month," he said. "But I thought you were too busy, loving someone." She opened it. Inside, an old photo of her parents, young, tired, in front of the flower shop the day it opened. On the back, "Love doesn't have to arrive with answers, but it should never leave you with questions." She stared at the photo for a long time, because that's what Kalen had done. He left her with more questions than memories. She returned to the shop that afternoon with clearer eyes. There was an older man buying a bouquet for his daughter's piano recital. He said, "I don't know what flowers mean. I just want her to know I'm proud." Avi smiled. She wrapped a simple bouquet of yellow roses and soft white daisies. "She'll feel that," she said. "Flowers don't need words when they're honest." The man nodded slowly. "You're good at this." She didn't say thank you. She just handed him the bouquet and watched him leave. A real man with a real story. No smoke, no mirrors. That evening, Nalani came over with no food, no folder, no lecture. Just 2 pairs of headphones and a playlist titled "For Getting Through It." They lay on the floor, backs against opposite walls, music between them. At one point, Avi whispered, "Do you think I'm stupid?" Nalani didn't open her eyes. "No." "I think you're brave." Avi blinked. "You opened your heart. You told the truth. You gave someone a chance," Nalani said. "And he broke it." Nalani turned her head. "That's not on you. He broke himself. You just happened to be the last person who treated him like he was whole." Hours later, as Nalani slept on the couch, Avi sat on the fire escape and looked up at the city skyline. She realized something she hadn't before. Kalen never asked her about her future. He asked about her past, her scars, her habits, her triggers, but not once did he ask what she wanted to become. Because he never planned to become anything with her. He was always exiting, even when he held her hand. It started with a text so ordinary. She didn't even blink when it came through. "Emergency trip. 3 days. No signal. Please wait for me." 3 sentences. No emoji. No follow-up. Just a quiet request from the man who'd spent months building a world of gentle, intentional silence. She didn't panic. She didn't question it. She simply replied, "Be safe. I'll wait." Because that's what she did for Kalen. She waited. For his voice. For his stories. For his past to unfold when he was ready. She thought that's what love required. Patience. Now she knew better. Day 1 passed like fog. She stayed busy, cleaned out old inventory, rearranged shelves. She told herself he was probably deep in rural woods, some estate she hadn't seen. no cell towers for miles. He told her before, old money. The family has a few places that don't even show up on GPS. She believed him. Because liars don't look like liars when they don't want anything from you. And he had never asked for anything. Not money, not favors, not access. He just gave, and watched, and listened. She thought that made him safe. Day 2 felt longer. The flower shop had fewer customers. Her father was quiet, sensing something off but choosing not to press. Nalani checked in. You heard from him? No, Avi replied. He said he wouldn't have signal. Nalani's tone dropped. Even satellite texts go through. You sure that's not a story? Avi didn't answer. She didn't want to argue. Not yet. Instead, she went home and replayed their last night together. The way he touched her jaw before kissing her goodbye. The way he whispered, "Wait for me." Now that line felt too rehearsed, too perfect. But, at the time, she held it like a promise. On the morning of day 3, Nalani didn't call. She burst in. The bell above the flower shop rang harder than usual, her steps fast and sharp. Avi, she said, you need to see this. Avi froze. What? Nalani held up her phone. Read it. Thread title, Bride exposes groom at altar. Says she's the real fiancé. Avi's chest went cold. No, she whispered. Scroll down, Nalani said gently now. She did, and there it was. A blurry photo. A man in a dark suit standing at the altar, turned slightly. A woman confronting him, zoomed in, even pixelated. It was him. Kalen. Same build, same stance, same haunted eyes. But below the photo, a printed wedding registry name, Sean Lawn. Avi couldn't breathe. No, she repeated, but her hands were already shaking. Her voice dropped to a whisper. That's not him. It can't be him. Nalani gently turned the phone back toward herself. Look again. Avi stared. The jawline was unmistakable. The hairline, even the way he held his hands, left wrist cupped over the right. She'd memorized it during their walks, during their dinners, during those quiet moments on the couch when words weren't needed. I don't understand, Avi murmured. Her voice sounded far away. Nalani's tone softened. I think we both do. The first thing Avi did was open her texts. Still no message from him. She called. Straight to voicemail. She texted, I saw something. Tell me it's not you. She stared at the screen. No response. 10 minutes passed. She texted again. Kalen, please, I don't care what it is. Just say something. Another 10 minutes. Nothing. Then her hands began to tremble. Not from sadness. From realization. She opened Google. Typed, Kalen Doran, Chicago. No results. She tried again. Kalen Doran, family estate. Nothing. LinkedIn. No trace. Instagram. No tagged photos. No mutual followers. No digital fingerprints. The only photos she had of him were in her mind. He never let her take any. She used to think that was romantic. Now she realized it was by design. Her cousin worked in city records. She called him. Can you check if someone named Kalen Doran owns property in Cook County? A pause. What's going on? I just need to know, she said. 10 minutes later, he called back. There's no one by that name. Not here. Not under corporate holding. Nothing. Her stomach sank. He didn't exist. Not legally. Not digitally. Not in any way that mattered. The next day, her father watched her close the shop early. She didn't explain. He didn't ask. She went home, sat on her bed, pulled the pearl necklace he gave her from the drawer. She held it in her hand like it might speak, but it was just metal and weight. That's what he left her with. Something pretty, something heavy, something silent. By nightfall, she opened the Reddit thread again. Hundreds of comments, most laughing, some shocked, a few calling it staged. But none of them knew the man in the picture like she did. None of them had let him walk through the back door of their heart wearing someone else's name. She didn't cry. She didn't throw anything. Instead, she opened a fresh note on her phone. Typed, "I believed you because you never asked me for anything. But that was the biggest trick. You took the one thing I gave freely, trust, and left nothing but silence in return." She saved it and went to sleep with the phone on her chest, still waiting for a message that would never come. The phone didn't ring the next morning, but her door did. It was Nalani again, and this time she didn't wait to be let in. She walked straight to the kitchen, opened the cabinet, pulled out the emergency. Chocolate Avi kept behind the spice rack and placed it on the counter. Avi blinked slowly, still in her robe. "You think chocolate's going to fix?" "No," Nalani said, unwrapping the bar. "But it'll keep you from losing your voice screaming." "I haven't screamed." That's the problem. Avi didn't scream. She internalized. She dissected every word he ever said, every look, every excuse. She kept playing back his last night in town, the way he looked into her eyes like she was the only person that ever existed. The way he said, 3 days. He even made his exit feel like a favor. They sat down at the kitchen table. Nalani pulled out her phone again. "There's more." Avi's stomach dropped. "More?" Nalani nodded. "He's used at least 2 other names." She showed her screenshots from a Facebook support group, Heartbroken by Ghosts, a safe place for real survivors. Post from one woman. He said his name was Caleb Marrick, said he was managing old family wine estates in Vermont. Same story, same charm. Vanished after 2 months. Another post. His name was Dax, told me he had trauma from a car crash and didn't like digital stuff. Gave me a necklace just like this one. Attached was a photo. Same pearl necklace. Same box. Avi stared. "He used it as a script," she whispered. Nalani nodded. He was building characters. He was living them. That's when the call came. Unknown number. Avi stared at it. Nalani looked at her. "Pick it up." She did. "Hello?" A pause. Then, "Miss Tran?" "Yes?" "This is Joseph Aaron. I work with the Illinois Fraud and Identity Task Force." Her fingers tensed. "I'm sorry to reach out like this. You're listed as a reference in a pending investigation." "Investigation?" "The name he gave you was likely Kalen Doran. We believe his real name is Evren Maddox." Does that name sound familiar? The world tilted. Her vision blurred slightly, but her voice stayed steady. "Yes," she said. "It does now." Joseph explained the rest in a slow, careful voice. Evren Maddox, 43. Once a promising screenwriter who spiraled after a series of professional failures. Instead of creating characters for screenplays, he began living them, embedding himself into women's lives using new names, new accents, and old lines recycled from scripts that never got greenlit. He doesn't usually steal from them, Joseph said. In fact, he's careful not to. Keeps one relationship clean, yours. So if anything ever gets exposed, he can point to you as proof of stability. Avi's mouth went dry. "So I was the cover story? You were the decoy that made the others feel like they were overreacting," Joseph said. "And the pearl necklace? Custom order, bought in bulk. He's given them to over a dozen women." She hung up without crying. She just sat still for a long time. Nalani finally whispered, "You okay?" "No," Avi replied, "but I'm done waiting." That evening, she walked into the flower shop with a different kind of silence, the kind that came with clarity. She went to the back, pulled out the whiteboard she hadn't used in months, wrote 3 words at the top, "Who I am," and underneath, she began listing what he never asked about. My dreams for the shop. My favorite vinyl memory with Dad. What I regret most about high school. The name of my childhood dog. The book that made me cry in public. The teacher who told me I wouldn't matter. The way I carry my grief. How I look when I'm angry. How I love when I'm scared. She stood back and stared at it. "He never asked," she said, "because he never cared. He studied her, but he didn't know her." Avi called the flower distributor the next morning. and cancelled all. Standing orders for premium roses, the ones Kaylin always bought. "I want new blooms in the shop," she told them. "Something unfamiliar." The woman on the line chuckled. "Switching it up?" "No," Avi replied, finally seeing it clearly. She didn't respond to the other women online. She didn't post her story. She didn't rage. Instead, she opened a fresh bouquet order and wrote something small on each card. This time, "I choose myself." 24 bouquets, 24 silent, fragrant declarations, and one left on her mother's grave. 2 days later, her phone pinged. It wasn't him. It was the task force again. "Just letting you know, he's vanished. No signal, no activity, no new sightings." She nodded quietly. He was gone, just like he always planned. That night, her father walked into the living room and sat beside her. "You seem lighter," he said. "I'm not," she replied. "I'm just done lying to myself." He reached over and handed her something, a sealed envelope from her mother's journal. "Found this while cleaning the storage room." She opened it slowly. Inside, one line written in her mother's delicate script. "Even the best masks crack in silence. Trust what stays after." Avi looked up. She didn't cry. She smiled. Not because she was okay, but because she would be. It wasn't the lies that hurt the most. It was the design behind them. The way everything fit too perfectly, the right pauses, the right gestures, the lines that felt too poetic to be spontaneous. Avi had replayed it all. But now she wasn't searching for love. The next morning, she opened the drawer where she kept Kaylin's handwritten notes. All 4 of them. Nothing dramatic, nothing romantic. Just thoughtful scribbles he left behind on receipts, napkins, even her desk calendar. "Don't forget to rest. Your shoulders carry too much. You arrange color like it's a language. Rainy days suit you. You slow down and speak softer. Be back soon. Don't close off. Not everyone leaves." She laid them side by side and studied the handwriting. At first glance, it looked sincere. Looping strokes, soft curves, smooth ink. But as she looked closer, she noticed something small. Repetitive. The way he wrote his lowercase r. It slanted backwards, as if mimicking a printed font, not natural handwriting. She Googled the term, replica cursive handwriting patterns in identity fraud, and just like that, the thread unraveled further. Avi drove to the public library and requested access to archived film festival programs. She remembered Joseph mentioning Evran Maddox's past in screenwriting. Small, forgettable credits, mostly indie scripts. One program from 7 years ago featured a film titled Half the Truth. Writer, E. Maddox. Synopsis: a quiet stranger builds emotional intimacy through silence until he's exposed for being 3 different people. She sat back in her chair. He hadn't just rehearsed these lives. He wrote them. Back home, she sat with Nalani on the living room floor. They pulled out every box of receipts, journals, little souvenirs she'd kept since meeting him. "What are we looking for?" Nalani asked. "Overlap," Avi said. "Anything that matches something from the other women's stories." They worked silently for an hour. And then, there it was. A small envelope. No address, no name. But it matched the same cream linen texture the woman from Vermont posted online. Inside, a single pressed gardenia, dried, fragile. Avi had assumed it was from their guest house night, but now she understood. He gave them all the same illusion of uniqueness, different wrapping, same script. She opened her laptop, created a document titled, "What Was Real?" and she started listing. His voice? Yes. His eyes? Yes. His past? Fabricated. His affection? Felt real. Meant to feel real. The necklace? Mass-produced. That night? Maybe true in pieces. Probably not whole. My love? Real. Every second of it. His love? Unknown. Unconfirmed. Undeniably scripted. It wasn't to hurt herself. It was to stop fantasizing, because closure doesn't always come through apologies. Sometimes it comes through clarity. She received a call that evening from a blocked number. She didn't answer, but they left a voicemail, a breath, then silence. Then I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. No name, no context, just a whisper of cowardice. She deleted it. Later, she sat on her fire escape, listening to city sounds. Down below, a man was teaching his daughter how to ride a bike. She fell once. He didn't flinch. He walked over, picked her up, and whispered something before helping her climb back on. That was real. Real people didn't disappear. Real men didn't leave you holding versions of them like broken props after a show ended. The next morning, she printed everything. The notes, the letter, the photos from the other women, the Reddit thread, her own journal entries. She placed them all in a folder. She wrote on the cover, "This does not define me." Then she tucked it in a cabinet behind the shop's counter, not to relive it, but to remember what it cost to trust the wrong man with her heart, and what it took to take it back. The rain started softly that night, not the dramatic kind that matched heartbreak in movies, just a light drizzle, quiet and constant. Avi sat by the front counter of the flower shop, thumbing through invoices, trying not to think about him. She had finally stopped calling him Kalen in her head. Now, she referred to him the way he deserved, the man with a script. She turned to grab a stack of unused bags behind the storage cabinet. That's when she noticed something wedged between the wall and the bottom shelf. A folded slip of paper, aged, crumpled at the edges. Not hers, not her handwriting. She unfolded it. It was a list, written in tight, efficient block letters, almost clinical. List 9, Chicago, March. AV, flower girl, keep clean. L rental due by 15th guest house equal to wed only ends script. 12-week mark new name, Colin E, not yet used, deposit necklace, M box, exit quietly. No trace. Avi's breath caught in her throat. There, in writing, she had been a part of something organized. A project, a rotation. Flower girl, keep clean. He hadn't just lied to her. He had planned her. She took the list and sat on the floor, her knees pulled to her chest. For a long time, she said nothing. Then she whispered, he was going to leave me, no matter what. Not because she said too little, not because she loved too fast, because she was never meant to last. Later that night, she showed Nalani the list. Her friend didn't say a word. She just placed a hand over Evie's and let the silence be enough. Until finally, Avi spoke again. I don't want revenge. Nalani blinked. You don't? Avi shook her head. I want removal. I want to remove him from the space he rented in my life. Nalani nodded slowly. That's stronger. Avi exhaled. It has to be. The next morning, Avi came in early. She flipped the close sign over for an extra hour and began rearranging the shop. Not the flowers, the furniture. She moved the couch near the window, repainted the back wall, removed every item he had ever touched. The ribbon scissors, the pen he used to write his first order, even the stool where he used to sit and watch her wrap bouquets. Gone. Swept. Boxed. Donated. A cleansing. Later that day, a customer stepped in. Older woman. Soft eyes. Holding a yellowed envelope in her hand. I need something for my sister, she said. She just lost someone she thought she could trust. Avi studied her for a moment, then replied, so something honest. No roses. The woman smiled faintly. Exactly. They built a bouquet of soft whites, eucalyptus, and one blue cornflower in the center. Why the blue one? The woman asked. Because even in quiet, some things stay brave, Avi said. The woman paid in cash, paused by the door and added, whoever he was, you deserve better. Avi didn't ask how she knew. Some griefs wear themselves on the skin. That evening, Avi pulled out her planner. There was a blank page for May 12th, the day that would have marked their 3-month anniversary. She flipped it. On the next page she wrote, Today I chose not to count days with someone who counted me as an exit. She closed the book, placed it on the highest shelf in the shop. Not hidden, just out of reach, like the version of herself that used to wait for love to return. The next morning, she picked up her phone and sent one text. Not to him. To the investigator, Joseph. I found something. I'm ready to give it to you. But after that, I don't want updates. I want to let him fade. Joseph replied within minutes. Understood. We'll send someone this week. When the agent arrived, a woman this time, composed and quiet, Avi handed her a small brown envelope. Inside, the list she found. The woman skimmed it, nodded once, and said, You weren't just clean. You were his alibi. The one who looked real enough to buy him time. Avi didn't flinch. I'm done being someone else's cover story, she said. The woman tucked the envelope into her jacket. You won't be contacted again unless absolutely necessary. Good. And with that, Avi closed the door. That night, she poured herself a cup of tea and sat on the rooftop above the shop. The city pulsed below, indifferent, busy, alive. She wasn't waiting anymore. She wasn't searching anymore. She wasn't broken. She had been used, but not ruined. And that difference was everything. The flower shop was quiet that Thursday morning. Too quiet. No deliveries, no appointments, no orders pending. Even the regulars didn't walk in. Avi took it as a sign. Sometimes, silence wasn't punishment. It was permission to breathe, to sit, to listen. So she did. She made tea, sat by the back window, and let the stillness remind her that survival didn't always come with noise. Until her phone buzzed. A new message. Unknown number. I'm sorry. She stared at it. No punctuation, no signature. Just that. Her heart didn't race. Her hands didn't shake. She simply placed the phone down and whispered, Too late. Minutes later, another buzz. You were the one I didn't fake. She let out a breath. Not a sob, not a laugh. Something between disbelief and clarity. He wanted a response, but he didn't deserve one. By evening, a second message came, but not from him. This one had a name. Eloise Maddox. The surname froze her. Evron's sister. Miss Tran. My name is Eloise. I found your contact in one of my brother's notebooks. He's gone dark again. But I want to give you something. Something he never meant for anyone to see. Especially not you. Avi hesitated, then replied, Why me? The response came quickly. Because you're the only one who didn't give him what he expected. They agreed to meet at a small bookstore cafe near West Town. Neutral ground, public, safe. Avi didn't tell Nalani, didn't bring backup. This wasn't confrontation, it was closure. Eloise looked nothing like him. Dark curls, rounded glasses, a heavy blue coat. She held a manila folder tightly to her chest as if it were glass. You don't know me, she said quietly as they sat. But I knew about you. Avi remained calm. How? Eloise glanced down. Evron doesn't usually talk about them, the women. But he wrote about. Avi's eyes didn't move. I'm not sure that's a compliment. It's not, Eloise said quickly. But it's different. You weren't just another mask he used. You were the one he stayed too long with. Why? Eloise slid the folder across the table. Because you made him question the script. Inside the folder were pages, dozens of them, all handwritten, all in the same block lettering Avi had seen on the list behind the shop cabinet. These weren't plans. They were monologues. One page began, She doesn't ask for anything. That makes her dangerous. She won't try to fix me. That means I'll start seeing myself. She speaks softly, which makes my silence harder to hide behind. Avi closed the folder. Her voice was low. Why are you giving this to me? Eloise stared down at her cup. Because I've watched him destroy people. Quietly, slowly. And you're the only one who made him destroy himself a little. They sat in silence. Until Eloise added, he never meant to love anyone. But I think, with you, he started to. Avi shook her head. That's not love. Love doesn't vanish. Love doesn't script. Eloise nodded. No, it doesn't. That's why he ran. On the last page of the folder, a single line was scrawled at the bottom corner. If she ever finds out, don't let her think she was a mistake. She wasn't. Avi read it 3 times. Then she folded the page and handed it back. I don't need this. Eloise blinked. Why? Because the only truth I care about now is the one I rebuild. She stood, pulled a 20 from her wallet, left it on the table. Tell him something, if he ever tries again, Evie said as she zipped her coat. Eloise looked up. Tell him the best thing he ever did was lose me. And then, without waiting for a reply, Evie walked out, into cold air, clean breath, and the sound of her own footsteps, finally free from the echo of his. Evie didn't speak of the meeting again. Not to Nalani, not to her father, not even to herself. She went back to the shop the next morning like it was any other day. But something in her presence had changed. She didn't flinch when the morning news played a segment on financial cons. She didn't tighten her jaw at the sound of any name resembling his. She didn't search the door for his shadow. She simply watered the anemones by the window and refilled the orchid display, because the world hadn't ended. It had revealed, and she survived it. After lunch, she pulled out a blank notepad from the drawer and wrote 1 sentence across the top. This is my version. No lies, no edits, no charm for an audience. Just her truth, in her voice, for herself. She wrote about the first time he walked into her shop, how he asked for a bouquet that made someone feel chosen, how he returned, again and again. She wrote about their walks by the lake, the way he avoided his past, how she excused every missing detail because she believed you shouldn't force a person to open up. She detailed the nights he held her like he knew her pain, and the mornings he left before daylight like he didn't belong to any time at all. She wrote about her shame, her silence, the moment she realized she was never in love with him. She was in love with being understood, and he only performed understanding. When she finished, she looked at the pages. Not poetic, not elegant, but honest. She folded them, slid them into an envelope, and placed it in her journal. Not to reread, but to remind herself what happens when you don't listen to your own voice. That weekend, she changed the shop display. Gone were the towering rose towers and dramatic centerpieces. She replaced them with simple mason jar arrangements. Sunflowers, baby's breath, eucalyptus. Truthful flowers, ones that didn't need to convince anyone of their worth. Nalani came by Sunday morning and stared at the new setup. You did a reset. Avi nodded. I did a return. To what? To myself. Later that afternoon, a woman entered the shop, holding a small brown envelope. She looked flustered, eyes glassy. Avi offered a gentle nod. Need help picking something? The woman hesitated, then said, I don't know what to say. He lied to me, for months. Said he was building a future, and yesterday I found out he'd moved to another city with someone else. Avi didn't ask for details. She simply walked to the back, trimmed a bouquet of ranunculus and freesia, and handed it to her. No card, Avi said. This one's for you. The woman looked like she might cry. How much? Nothing, Avi replied. Consider it returned to sender. That night, Avi sat at her windowsill, watching the city lights pulse. She reached for her phone, scrolled through her messages, stopped at the last number he texted from, and deleted the entire thread. She even paused, checked her gut. No tremble, no guilt. She clicked delete conversation, and for the first time, her heart didn't clench. Monday brought sunlight, not metaphorical, real, clear, no clouds kind of sun. The shop glowed with it. Her father came in carrying a stack of old flower photos from the shop's opening years ago. Some of her as a little girl sweeping petals off the floor. He handed one to her. She looked at it and smiled. You used to talk to every plant like it was a person, he said. I still do, she replied. Think they listen? She shrugged. Better than most people. He chuckled. Especially the ones who pretend to listen. She nodded. Exactly. That afternoon, she updated the shop website, removed the custom romantic orders section, added a new banner, Honest Flowers, for honest beginnings. A week later, orders started coming in from people across the city, not for weddings, but for themselves. One woman wrote, "Divorce today. I want lilies. I survived." Another, "No reason. Just a reminder that I exist and deserve something beautiful." Avi wrapped each bouquet herself. No drivers, no anonymous notes, no silence dressed as sweetness, only truth. And tape. And flowers that didn't need a lie to be lovely. Comment, "I own my story." If you believe healing starts when you tell the truth, not the person who hurt you. Share this with someone who's ready to rewrite their ending without waiting for an apology. Avi didn't delete him out of anger. She deleted him out of peace. The kind that comes when your silence is no longer holding back a scream, but finally feels like a choice. 3 weeks passed. No contact. No updates from the investigator. No more cryptic messages. No sightings. No apologies. And she didn't care, because healing didn't look like revenge anymore. It looked like opening the shop early just to watch the sun roll in through the glass. It looked like reading old novels between customer orders. It looked like brewing her father's favorite tea without being asked. It looked like stillness. She didn't flinch when someone said his name at a coffee shop. She didn't jump when a man in a black coat walked past the flower shop window. She didn't check unknown numbers twice. The silence he left behind, she claimed it and made it hers. One morning, a young boy entered the shop, holding his grandma's hand. He couldn't have been older than 7. "I want flowers for my mom," he said. "She's sad today." Avi knelt to his height. "What kind of sad?" "She was quiet when she usually sings in the kitchen," he said, "and she hugged me like her chest hurt." Avi stood slowly. She picked 3 stems, white tulips, lavender, and 1 daisy. "Tell her they're for the part of her that doesn't know how to ask for help," she said. The boy grinned. "She'll like that." His grandma paid, left an extra tip, whispered, "Thank you for knowing." Avi smiled. "That kind of silence I understand." That night, Avi lit a candle in her room. No music, no distractions, just her, the low flicker of flame, and the quiet. She wasn't thinking about him anymore. Not his voice, not his touch, not his perfect lies. She was thinking about herself, the version of her that survived being looked at with intention but never truly seen. And the version that grew from that wound, not colder, not harder, but clearer. Later that week, Nalani came by with 2 smoothies and no drama. "You know," she said, flipping through the shop's new flower tags, "you don't talk about him anymore." Avi looked up. "Because he's not mine to talk about." Nalani raised a brow. Avi added, "I don't carry ghosts, I plant over them." Nalani smiled wide. "That needs to go on your wall." Avi laughed softly. "Maybe one day." That weekend, her father surprised her by repainting the front door. It was now a soft sage green. She blinked. "What happened to the cherry wood?" He shrugged. "Green's peaceful, and I think this place deserves more peace." Avi stood beside him, sipping her coffee. She didn't cry, but she felt something settle inside her, like a book closing softly after the final line. On Sunday, she added a small sign near the register. "This shop doesn't sell perfection, only flowers honest enough to wilt and still be beautiful." She thought of him when she wrote it, but not with bitterness, with clarity. Because not every villain is loud. Some enter softly, stay kindly, and leave you wondering if they were ever real at all. One evening, she walked by the lake again. Same spot where she and Everon, once sat, drinking oat milk lattes and trading small truths. She took the necklace from her pocket, the pearl he gave her, and she threw it, softly, far enough that it wouldn't wash back. Then she sat, on her own, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like her presence was enough. No man beside her, no hand in hers, no name she couldn't trust, Just her, just truth, just quiet. And not a single part of it needed to be recorded. It came on a Monday, a crisp white envelope, no return address, no name. Avi found it tucked under the shop door when she opened early. She didn't touch it for hours. She swept the floor, prepped the day's arrangements, helped an elderly couple build a bouquet for their anniversary. But by midday, her hands finally reached for it. She opened it. Inside was a folded sheet of paper, and one sentence. "I was never real, but you were." That's what broke me. There was no signature, but she knew the handwriting. Kalen. Sean. Evron. Whatever his name was, his words still had that cinematic weight he clung to. She folded the paper back, didn't tear it, didn't cry. She placed it in the drawer next to customer receipts. It didn't belong in her heart. It belonged to the past. Later that day, Corin returned. He didn't bring flowers, or gifts, or apologies for the gap in his visits. Just his usual quiet presence, and a large drink from the cafe across the street. He held it out. Almond chai, extra foam. I remembered. Avi took it gently. "Thanks." They didn't talk for long. He asked how her father was. She said, "Better." She asked how his property deal went. He said, "Closed clean." They didn't speak of feelings, but something in the way he looked at her, calm, unhurried, said everything. He didn't need to rescue her from the past. He just wanted to stand still in the present. That night, Avi did something she hadn't done in months. She opened her photo app, not to look for him, but to recover a picture she almost deleted. It was a blurry shot from the day she taught a kid's class at the flower shop. She was laughing, face mid-motion, eyes crinkled, pure, unaware, alive. She saved it to her favorites, because it reminded her that even in the middle of being fooled, she was still herself, still kind, still present, still real, and nothing he did could take that from her. Corin came by again on Thursday. She was rearranging eucalyptus when he stepped in. "Hey," he said, casually. "Thought I'd see if your Tuesday offer still stands." She looked up, confused. "You said I could pick the next lunch spot." She blinked, then smiled. "I did. You were restocking orchids." "Said it under your breath." Avi thought about it. She did. He noticed even when she wasn't trying to be heard. She wiped her hands on her apron. "All right. Surprise me." They ended up at a tiny Ethiopian cafe tucked between a tire shop and a dry cleaner. She raised an eyebrow when they walked in. He shrugged. Best lentils in Chicago. He was right. They sat, shared, talked. But not about past heartbreaks. They talked about books, about the price of soy milk, about how quiet moments can hold more weight than crowded ones. He didn't interrupt. He didn't analyze. He listened. And that, Avi realized, felt more romantic than any perfect kiss. After lunch, they walked a few blocks. It started to drizzle. She pulled her cardigan tighter. Corin paused, took off his coat, draped it over her shoulders without a word. Didn't ask, didn't expect anything in return, just did it. She looked up at him, and for a second, just a second, she felt her chest ache, not from loss, but from hope. They didn't kiss, not yet, but when they got to her shop, she handed him back his coat and said, "Next time, bring a book." He nodded once. "I will," then walked away. No drama, no performance, just presence. And that, she thought, might be the rarest kind of love. The call came at 7:14 a.m. Avi was slicing lemons for her morning tea when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something told her to pick up. "Miss Tran," a firm male voice asked. "Yes?" "This is Detective Kylan from Michigan State. I'm following up on an older case involving a man named Evron Maddox." Her hand froze. "Is he—" She started. "Alive. In custody. We caught him trying to use a forged ID at a property rental agency." One of your references was still listed under an old alias he used. Avi blinked. He used me again? Not directly, but your name was attached to the identity he tried to pass as a relative. Standard follow-up. We're reaching out to all women linked to his past profiles. She stayed quiet. You're not in any danger, the detective added, but you're listed in his files more than most. I'd like to ask if you're willing to give a short statement for our psychological profile. Why? She asked quietly. Because your case is different. He never took anything from you, never manipulated for gain. We think you were his first, and possibly only real emotional entanglement. Avi's chest tightened. I'm not sure what I can offer, she said. You don't have to offer anything, he said. But victims often find peace in understanding. She hung up gently, and for a long moment, the kitchen felt too still. She stared at the lemon slices, then brewed her tea anyway. She wasn't that girl anymore, the one who broke at his disappearance, the one who waited 3 days and cried herself to sleep. She was different now, still healing, still tender, but standing. That afternoon, she told Corin. They were seated at the shop's back table, sorting through a shipment of dried lavender. I got a call today, she said. He looked up, eyes calm. They found him. Evran. He's in custody. Corin didn't flinch, didn't tighten his jaw. He simply asked, how do you feel? Avi thought about it. I thought I'd panic, or cry, or feel small again. And, she exhaled slowly, I felt still, good. His hand brushed against hers while reaching for a bundle, not on purpose, but not withdrawn either. She didn't pull away. You think you'll give that statement? He asked. I don't need to anymore, she said. I already understand him. Corin raised an eyebrow. He created a fantasy to survive his failures, and I became the one real thing he never expected. Corin stayed quiet, then finally said, that's what made him dangerous. She nodded once. And what saved me? Later that night, she sat on her porch steps, a cup of tea in hand, watching the streetlights flicker. She opened her phone, went to her saved messages, and deleted the last one from him. The emergency trip lie. She let it go, not because she forgave him, but because holding it no longer served her. She wasn't the woman waiting anymore. She was the woman rebuilding, with both feet on the ground and eyes that no longer looked back. The door chime rang mid-morning. Avi looked up from trimming a fresh hydrangea stem. The man who entered wore a pressed tan coat, clean boots, and a confident stride that didn't match the regulars. He removed his sunglasses and gave a polite nod. Miss Tran. She gave a light smile. That's me. Name's Rylan Cho. I'm a freelance journalist. I cover long-form profiles, real people, real stories. Avi's fingers stilled. I've been following the Evran Maddox investigation since last year. We got word he's back in custody, and your name kept surfacing. Her eyes narrowed. I'm not interested in being a headline. He raised a hand. I'm not here to exploit. I'm here because your story, it's different. Most of his victims were conned. But you? He didn't take anything, not money, not property, just time, emotion. She folded her arms. That's still theft. Exactly, he said. And the world rarely talks about that kind of theft. She studied him. Why now? He hesitated, then pulled out a small notepad. Because the public eats up scammer stories, but they forget the human pieces left behind. I want to change that. And you want me to help make that story go viral? I want you to write the ending yourself, he said plainly. That made her pause. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she turned back to the hydrangea, quietly arranging it in the vase like she had 1,000 times before. I won't give you quotes. I won't sit for a podcast. And I won't cry for your clicks. He stayed quiet. But if you want to write about how silence heals, about what it means to stay when the fantasy fades, then write that. He scribbled nothing, just nodded, thanked her, and left. The next week, a feature appeared online titled The Woman He Didn't Break. Subtitle, A Story of Presence After Illusion. It didn't name her directly, didn't post her photos, didn't sell her trauma. It simply told the truth about a woman who loved someone who didn't exist and found someone who did. That weekend, Corin met her at the lakefront. He brought no flowers, no jewelry, just a thermos of hot ginger tea, her favorite. They walked in silence for a while, the fall wind brushing soft against their cheeks. "I read the article," he said. "I didn't ask him to publish it," she replied. "I know." They stopped by a bench near the water. Corin looked at her, steady. "You weren't a victim in that story." "I'm not a victim anymore." "Good," he said, then added, "because I wasn't drawn to a broken woman." She turned slightly. "I was drawn to a strong one who didn't need to perform it." That made her blink. "You didn't flinch when I brought up your past," he said. "You didn't dramatize it either." She gave a dry smile. "Some of us learn to rebuild quietly." He nodded. "And that's why I want to keep showing up. For the quiet. For the real." Her voice cracked. "Just slightly. Even if I'm still learning how to trust that." He offered his hand, not reaching to grab, just holding it there. Especially then, she placed hers into his, not to promise, but to practice. Because real doesn't demand grand gestures. It shows up, one steady choice at a time. There was no proposal, no diamond, no photographer hiding behind hedges waiting to capture a stage surprise. What happened instead was ordinary, which made it perfect. It began on a Wednesday. Avi was restocking the eucalyptus bundles when Corin appeared at the shop door, holding a folded newspaper under his arm and a to-go container in the other. "I brought lunch," he said. "You like dumplings, right?" She raised an eyebrow. "Since when do real estate guys carry lunch instead of buying the whole restaurant?" "I prefer things I can afford to spill," he said simply, setting the container down. They ate in the back, behind the old register. No music, just light conversation and laughter between bites. The kind that came easy when you weren't pretending. When they finished, she leaned back, eyes soft. "You don't look at me like I'm a story." He shook his head. "You're not. You're the chapter that made sense." That made her quiet. Then she whispered, "You're not scared I'll never fully trust again?" "No," he said. "I think you already do." And that was the moment she realized she hadn't been testing him anymore. She'd just let him stay. No milestone, just truth. Weeks passed. He never rushed her, never asked to define anything. Instead, he started helping her catalog her father's old vinyl collection on weekends. They'd label sleeves, laugh over handwritten song titles, and sometimes, when the sun dipped low, he'd dance with her in the living room to a dusty jazz record. Her father, once skeptical, now greeted Corin with a slight nod and a plate of whatever he cooked that day. "Not many stick around when a family has baggage," he told Corin once. "I don't unpack it unless invited," Corin replied. It earned him respect. And Avi's quiet smile, they didn't move fast. She didn't want to, but she did start showing up more, not just in his life, but her own. She reopened her online store, built a floral brand rooted in seasonal simplicity. She began volunteering at a community shelter once a week, helping children plant seeds and watch them grow. And she stopped rereading that final message from Evran, until one day she deleted it. No announcement, no ceremony, just one tap, delete, gone. One evening, Corin stood with her outside the shop as she locked up. The air was cool, quiet. He slid a hand into his coat and pulled out a key, not to a car, not to a mansion, but to his apartment. "I replaced the spare," he said. "If ever you need space, or quiet, or warmth." She took it, turned it over once in her palm. "You're not asking me to move in?" "No," he said. "I'm giving you another door that's always open." She didn't say anything, but she kept the key and used it the following week. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to. They didn't mark anniversaries. They marked little things, like the first time she let him hold her hand in public, or the first time he said, "I'll close early if you want company." or when she cried watching a film and didn't have to explain why. Corin never asked for more than she gave. One Sunday afternoon, they sat by the lakefront, the same bench she once waited on, hoping for a man who would never return. This time, she wasn't waiting. She was resting. Corin sat beside her, elbows on his knees, not trying to fill the silence. She looked at him. "This isn't a fairy tale," she said softly. He nodded. "I know. There's no grand moment, no rescue." Another nod. "I don't have it in me to promise anything forever," she admitted. "I'm not asking," he said. "I'm showing up for what's already here." And that was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. She leaned her head on his shoulder. He didn't shift. He stayed still, steady, and warm. The kind of stillness she never had to fear. Months passed. They lived between both spaces, her tiny apartment above the shop and his quiet condo near the water. One had plants in the windows and a squeaky door. The other had clean countertops and a view of the skyline. She didn't want to give either up. So he built a bridge between both. He ordered her favorite tea for his pantry, bought extra cozy socks, installed a small flower shelf in his kitchen window, not to impress her, but because he knew she liked how morning light hit fresh petals. She never asked for these things, but that's how she knew they were real. One night, she found a letter taped inside her flower shop door. It was handwritten, folded neatly, no return address. It read, "To the woman who was never fooled, only chosen, I know what I took from you. Not money, not time, but your willingness to believe. I don't deserve forgiveness. I don't expect it, but I never used you. You were the only version I didn't create." She folded the letter once, then again. No tears came, no panic. She placed it in a drawer. Didn't tell Corin. She didn't need comfort for something that no longer had weight. What she'd lived through wasn't fiction, but it also didn't own her. 6 months later, the flower shop hit a major milestone, their first contract with a luxury hotel. She walked in late that night and found Corin at the kitchen counter, barefoot, reading through zoning blueprints. She dropped her bag, walked over, and kissed his shoulder. He looked up. "Good day?" he asked. She smiled. "Best one in a long time." He nodded. "You look like you've come through something." "I have," she said. He took her hand. "What are you thinking?" he asked. She leaned in close. "That I don't need to be saved." "I know," he said, kissing her forehead. "I just wanted to be where you landed." A year after the last message from Evron, she finally visited the church in Michigan. Not to confront anyone, not to dig into his past, but to prove to herself she wasn't afraid of places that once held ghosts. The church was quiet, empty. She sat in the last pew, closed her eyes, then opened them again and walked out, not needing closure, because she had something better, peace. One spring morning, as sunlight cut across their shared kitchen, Corin placed a small ring box on the table. She stared at it. He said nothing. She opened it. Inside wasn't a diamond. It was a silver band engraved with two things, a tiny flower, and the word, "Stay." She looked at him, eyes full but steady. "I'm not asking," he said again. "I'm promising. And that time?" She nodded. Because this wasn't about grand declarations or eternal vows. It was about two people who decided to keep showing up, together. Sometimes the people who lie the best are the ones who once swore they'd never lie to you. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away without waiting for an apology. If this story touched your heart, if you've ever trusted someone and realized the person you fell for didn't even exist, then you're not alone. But healing, that's yours. And peace, that's not a fantasy. It's a decision. Comment, "She chose truth" if you believe real love doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be honest. Tap that like button if you've ever rebuilt your life from nothing but quiet strength. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories if you're ready for more stories that speak your truth, without drama for drama's sake. Just real people, real emotions, and unforgettable endings. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder you don't need closure from them when you've already found clarity in yourself. And remember, every story here isn't about revenge. It's about rising. And that's exactly what she did. Thank you for watching Mr. Charles Stories, where every story speaks and every ending matters.